because we feel like communities need a strong nonprofit sector that bolsters youth in order to be sustainable and for youth to thrive.
Welcome to Nonprofit Voices, brought to you by the Michigan Nonprofit Relief Fund, a $32.5 million grant program to support small nonprofits with less than $1 million in annual revenue that incurred demonstrable expenses or losses after March 3rd, 2021, after the pandemic. If that's you, apply. The link is in the description. This series is a short talk with the leaders of Michigan's nonprofit community, hence Nonprofit Voices. I'm your host, Shannon Kaysen. I'm a storyteller and podcaster, but this episode is not about me. Today's episode is about...
I'm Amy Quinn. I'm CEO of Grow and Lead, Community and Youth Development. And we work with nonprofits throughout the Upper Peninsula, helping to build their capacity in whatever ways we can. We provide training and resources to help strengthen those nonprofits so that they can do what they do best. And we can help them focus on the management side of things, the operations side of things, be a helping hand, answer questions however we can, whatever we can do to build up the nonprofit sector in the Upper Peninsula.
In early 2020, a pandemic impacted the entire world. And when everyone was mandated to stay indoors and away from harm, healthcare professionals, essential workers, and nonprofit organizations were serving in harm's way. Grow and Lead came together to assist other nonprofit organizations in devising strategies to confront the crisis. Amy Quinn details the importance of nonprofits during this moment.
I think nonprofits, for the most part, were kind of taken for granted until COVID hit. And then when everyone shut down, for the most part, who was still there? The nonprofits were still there serving, especially the basic needs nonprofits, the food, the shelter, the clothing. They were still there serving, and they were really on the front lines, continuing to work with people and make sure people had what they need during the closures and everything.
The Michigan Nonprofit Relief Fund offers grants to nonprofit organizations that experience loss or expenses due to the pandemic. And the timing of this funding is necessary.
And I actually believe the timing is wonderful because here again, nonprofits have kind of exhausted all the other revenue sources that they were able to have. Now the government's really cutting back, plus our economy hasn't been doing so well. Another great thing about it is that nonprofits are able to use this money in however way, for the most part, however way they need to. So if they need to add another staff person, if they need to upgrade their technology, which a lot of them do, if they need to pay back some debt, some rent that they fell behind on, that type of thing, it's essentially unrestricted. So they're able to be creative with the funding. And more than anything, it helps them feel appreciated.
The clock is ticking, and we don't want you to miss out on access to free funding, specifically for Michigan nonprofits from the Michigan Nonprofit Relief Fund. Grants ranging from $5,000 to $25,000 are available right now for Michigan nonprofits with annual revenue less than $1 million. Time is running out to apply. The application closes on May 5th, 2023. If you're unsure about how to fill out the application, don't worry. Michigan Nonprofit Association has representatives on hand to answer your questions and help guide you through the process. So sign up for the free virtual office hours today. The link is in the description. And apply for the Michigan Nonprofit Relief Fund at minonprofitrelief.org. Let's get back to Amy Quinn to find out more about the work at Grow and Lead in Michigan's Upper Peninsula.
We are the capacity building center, or a capacity building center for the Upper Peninsula. And so in a nutshell, we say we are a nonprofit for nonprofit. The longer elevator statement, if we're going up numerous floors, is that our vision is to create a UP where youth can thrive. And our slice of the pie for doing that is through the nonprofit sector, because we feel like communities need a strong nonprofit sector that bolsters youth in order to be sustainable and for youth to thrive.
Grow and Lead is dedicated to supporting nonprofit youth organizations in Michigan's UP because they understand that nonprofits pave an important path for future generations.
We are driving towards a strong nonprofit sector because we believe the nonprofit sector is a critical link to community development and the health and thriving community, and getting nonprofits that support youth, especially those youth-serving organizations, having them be the strongest, most efficient, effective nonprofits that they can be. Because in order for youth to thrive, there's a lot of different factors involved. And one is healthcare, which we have a hospital system. Education, we have an educational system. Recreation, there's a lot of nonprofits that tie with recreation, with environmental issues, and then also the support, the human services safety net, if you will, that most people think of for nonprofits: food, shelter, etc. And so nonprofits cover a wide gamut of ways that they touch youth, and youth are our future. And so if we're able to support them now and build up their strengths and their character, then that has payback in the long run on our society.
Grow and Lead services Michigan's entire Upper Peninsula. The UP is about 30% of Michigan's landmass. That's a big part of Michigan. Amy Quinn tells us a little bit about that far up north.
What's great is that we get to serve the whole UP. So we get to experience some of the nuances of all the different cultures within the different areas of the UP. Where I live is outside of Marquette, in Marquette County, but outside of the city. You could probably see the trees in the background. I live on 40 acres of wooded land, and out in the woods, it feels like we're in the middle of nowhere, but we're really only 10 minutes from town. And we don't have to deal with traffic, not very often. And people are pretty laid back, casual. We do have a culture of helping one another. Marquette is beautiful because Marquette's located on Lake Superior. And the town itself, I would say Marquette City is a little more progressive than what most people in the UP might think. We have actually quite a bit of arts and culture activities. And especially in the summer, we have something going on probably every weekend. I know from the tourism industry, I heard one time that they try to have something booked every weekend, different festivals, different art fairs, jazz fest, film festivals. It's a wonderful place. There's a lot of great restaurants and, like I said, good entertainment. And then also you're just a short drive away from the woods or bicycle trails if you like to mountain bike or hiking. It's like you could do a little bit of everything, and that's what I like about living up here.
Nonprofit organizations are often born from circumstances. Amy Quinn tells an interesting story of a youth-serving organization called Partridge Creek Farm, just like that in the UP.
It actually started with a business owner in Ishpeming, which is on the west end of Marquette County, saying, you know what, we have all this land in our community. Let's build community gardens. And one day while he was out there working in his garden, some neighborhood kids came by and they were throwing sand in the watering system because, you know, kids are bored. They don't know any differently and they just were something to do, right? And the kid's parent found out about it and he's like, we've got to make this right. And so the owner said, well, why don't you have the kids come help me in the garden? And that's how it started. And now they have community gardens where families come. And if you volunteer and help and grow things in the garden, then you get to take home fresh produce. They also teach how to cook that produce, so some nutrition. But then they've gone so far as they just broke ground on an intergenerational farm which is a plot of land that was donated to them right between a senior living facility for senior citizens and the school, middle school and high school. And so having those generations come together to work in the gardens. And they also are integrated in the school where they have farm to school. So each week, the various grades have different recipes that they cook, and they learn how the food is grown. And they recently were accredited for a career and trades education program for agriculture. So it's just from this kid throwing dirt in a water system has grown into this wonderful initiative that can provide careers for youth to be involved. And if nothing else, it helps everyone better understand how they can eat healthier and have access to fresh produce.
Amy made a shift early in her professional career toward nonprofit work. Then she directed her focus on youth advocacy, and she never quite looked back.
I'm originally from Colorado, and I grew up in a small town in Colorado in the Four Corners area, the opposite side of the mountain range from Denver. And so it's actually somewhat similar to the UP in that we are the opposite side of the state from Lansing. You know, I grew up in a small town and whatnot, but after college, I worked in a private agricultural company. I wasn't with a nonprofit. I actually was interested in international business, and I lived in Minneapolis for 8 years. Then I went on a missions trip with my church to Azerbaijan and worked in some orphanages, and just felt this tug that there's more to life than making money. For me, I felt like I wanted to do more. And my parents tried to talk me out of it because I had a great job at a large corporation. And I actually thought that it's a global corporation. I'll probably retire from it because I could never get bored with all of what they do. And my parents are like, you're a generous person. You give a lot. Nonprofits need you. They need people like you that donate. And I said, yeah, but it doesn't feel like enough. And so at the time, the company I worked for, they said they have a loaned executive program to the United Way of the Twin Cities. So I did that to work on their campaign, their fall fundraising campaign, which is huge. And that gave me a taste of the nonprofit sector without having to really jump in with both feet. And after that, I said, yes, this is where I want to be. So I joined United Way of the Twin Cities for a few years. And then back home in Colorado, a child advocacy center called me and said, would you be interested in being our executive director? And I said, I'll put my name in the hat. And I did. I got the job and worked there for a couple of years. Had never been a director before. Had never worked with those cases before. Seeing the things you saw and hearing the things I heard, I was not prepared for that. And it was a really great experience, great learning experience for me to see how the community supported the youth and those of us that worked with youth. And then by accident, I met a man that lived up here way north, and we got married and I moved up here. And when I was looking for jobs, I came across Grow and Lead, their website, and I thought, oh, I would really love to work at Grow and Lead because it takes my business and management background and experience and melds it with the nonprofit. And so I did interview for other jobs, but then when Grow and Lead called me, I was like, yes, that's where I want to be.
To find out more about Amy Quinn and the work at Grow and Lead, contact them at glcyd.org. If you are a Michigan nonprofit organization, apply for the Michigan Nonprofit Relief Fund. This is a $32.5 million grant program to support small nonprofits with less than $1 million in annual revenue that incurred demonstrable expenses or losses after March 3, 2021, due to the pandemic. The Michigan Nonprofit Relief Fund is being administered by the Michigan Nonprofit Association, MNA, and the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, LEO. Nonprofits do not have to be a member of MNA to apply for or receive grant funding, and the application will close on Friday, May 5th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you need help with the process, sign up for the free virtual office hours today. The link is in the description. And to access the application, go to minonprofitrelief.org and look for the banner that says Michigan Nonprofit Relief Fund. And make sure you subscribe for more Michigan Nonprofit Voices podcasts. I'm Shannon Kaysen. Talk to you soon.